Hi everyone, Catherine here from Ink Finger Cat, back with another Christmas in July project, and today is all about the sleigh ride, which ironically my actual card theme that I was going through with my head in terms of technique was slowing it down. This was a slow to make card. I purposefully wasn't really bothered about making multiples or anything along those lines. I just enjoyed the colouring in and adding little details, building it up slowly. So yeah, sometimes we have to remember that crafting is just about having fun, and sometimes it's about slowing down. I had a majorly busy day at work, and I just wasn't in the mood to do something fast, and I wasn't in the mood to be productive. I just wanted to create, and that's what this card is all about. So you'll see there I am using one of the Kendra's card challenge from number 19. I made this for a video a few days ago. I'm going to say around about the 18th. And I made 2 cards from the whole kit, which makes 15 in total. So there's some videos already on, one of me doing the process of cutting everything, and then one of me making 2 cards from the kit. And I just really wanted to use those papers again. So I've got another, 15 minus 3, I've got 12 others that are still to be made. Probably won't make another appearance in Christmas in July. May not make another appearance on a video. Don't know. They're just sitting in their little envelopes waiting to go. And because the theme for today was the sleigh ride, I knew I wanted to use this Dimond Press stamp set that I got last year. I got it because of the Vintage Santa. I didn't think I'd probably use this particular stamp. But then I thought, no, I don't think I have another one with a sleigh on anymore. I used to have another one, but I can't find it. And so I stamped it out. It did take me a couple of goes to stamp it. I don't know what was going on. Again, I was tired. It'd been a long day at work. And yeah, so it took me a couple of goes. But you know what? My friend Helen always tells me there are 2 sides to the piece of paper. So, you know, it's fine. I used Memento ink to stamp, and then I took my Pro markers. I think I also added in some stamping blends. Yeah, this is me getting the box of stamping blends out. So yeah, basically alcohol markers to colour in. But I didn't do any form of fancy colouring or anything. I did a bit of shade into the deer. That's about it, really. But yeah, I just felt myself really calming and slowing down whilst I was doing the colouring in, and it was wonderful. Sometimes that's what crafting is about. Well, for me, crafting is always about focusing on just what's in front of me, and it really helps to just stop my crazy mad brain from going completely and utterly bananas and thinking about 300 things in an hour. So as I was colouring it in, I thought, you know what would look really nice is if some of this was shiny. And so I used the shimmer ink, and I took a tiny paintbrush and just painted on some of the detail of the sleigh. It's got some really lovely sort of intricate work around the side of the sleigh, and then also on the reindeer's harness. I don't know if that's the right word for it. I think it's called a harness. So I did just dry that off with my heat tool, because I then wanted to use the coordinating dies to die cut it out. I used washi tape to keep the die in place, because I didn't want, having done all that beautiful colouring in, for it to shift and not cut properly. So fortunately it cut beautifully, and there we go. So this is me thinking, yeah, this is perfect. I really like it on that. Now there's 2 mounts to this card. There ends up being 3 in total, but at this point there's 2 mounts to this card, and I decided that that brown cardstock I would emboss. I embossed it using, I think it's called Vintage something. No, time-worn type it's called, not vintage at all. Time-worn type, and it's just sort of like a bit grungy and a bit vintagey. I just enhanced some of the embossing with a little bit of the ink using my vintage photo, and then you'll see there that I badly stuck some scrap cardstock on the back of the panel of the pattern papers, just because I wanted it raised up a little bit, but I didn't want it as high as my adhesive foam. And then I stuck that onto the red panel. Now, I decided I also wanted a little bit of dimension for my focal point. I've gone to all that effort. I want it to be standing out. And so I die cut a second part from the scrap left over from the first one, which you'll see when I turn it over. You'll see that there are some bits of the stamping that went wrong. So yeah, I then just glued it directly on though. Normally I stack things 3 times, but this time 2 just seemed enough. It is quite thick cardstock that I'm using there. It's I think it was Crafter's Companion cardstock. The red cardstock, however, is quite thin, and it is not Crafter's Companion. I think it was just a cheap one from Amazon. And you can't see what I'm doing here, but I am going to heat emboss the sentiment, "'Tis the season to be jolly," on the red cardstock with a white powder. So apologies, I'm just off the camera here. It's just at the edge of the platform, and now I've put the embossing powder over to the right hand side so you can't see that too. And then I'm just going to heat emboss that. Reverse tweezers are excellent when you are stamping and embossing something where you've not got enough room for your fingers. So I must admit, I did think that this set came with a die for all of the sentiments, but it does not. It comes with a die for, I think it's 2 of the sentiments, maybe 3. So I'm like, oh, well, I don't really want it in a strip. So I took another scrap of red cardstock. It was a different colour, but it doesn't matter, but it's a bit thicker. And I glued them together before I fussy cut. And the reason I did that is because it was quite a thin cardstock, that red. Almost a paper, just a thick paper maybe is probably the best description for it. So just adding an extra layer underneath it before I fussy cut it still didn't mean it was too thick that I couldn't fussy cut, but just gave it a little bit more stability. Now the sketch did include 2 sort of like little tags. I cut one incorrectly, so I cut it into half, and so I'm able to use both sides of the pattern paper there, and I just add them to the bottom. That's not how they are on the sketch from Kendra, but it really doesn't matter. I decided I was going to use a red card base, but then I thought, oh, can't really see that red panel that I've put beneath it, so I'm going to add some white. And then because it's not that expensive, but it's a bit expensive, this stamping cardstock. It's really good quality. I just decided to gut it. It also helps keep the weight down because obviously now there's several layers on this particular card, and it just reduces the weight a little bit. Now, I'm using a coloured card blank, so I always like to put a white section inside the card so that there's something easy to write on. And normally I would add a little bit of pattern paper, but in this case I just took that stamped image, stamped it in brown, and thought, yep, perfect. And now you might think I've lost the plot because I've stuck yellow stuff over the top of it, but what I'm actually going to do is just do a little bit of splattering with that shimmer ink. But I didn't want it on Santa's face or on the reindeer, so I just covered it up with a scrap of yellow paper there. And that is me done. I'm really pleased with this. It took me, as I say, about 40 minutes, I think, to make the card. Really enjoyed doing it. It was lovely to just slow down and have a different pace. And I really enjoyed using another one of those kits that Kendra's put together. Please do like, subscribe, and until next time, thanks for watching.